Tucson area. And so I thought we could go ahead and take a look at what Harvey Levin had mentioned about, because he got the first and I believe he's seen the second. And I'm doing air quotes because we're not sure if these are really ransom notes. I kind of want to talk about, ransom as a business as well. But I wanted to start and play what Harvey had mentioned about what he'd seen and why he thinks that she is still potentially in the area. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at this.
For this, Harvey, by the way, your coverage has been phenomenal. These are new details for a lot of people in the letter that they would bring Nancy back to Tucson. They gave a time frame. You were able to map out that circle. And this is what you meant last night. You were a little more cryptic that you believed it was in the local area. You felt more at liberty today to go into more detail. Tell us why you were able to.
Well, I read that letter 20 times last night, and when I started connecting the time frame that they gave in terms of how long it would take to return her to Tucson, it just became obvious to me that that would be the circle where authorities would focus. But based on everything that's happening, I am increasingly believing that, if this letter is legit, Nancy is not that far away from Tucson. The way it's written, it says bring her back to Tucson. So it doesn't sound like she's in Tucson proper, but there is some connection this person has with the Tucson community. And KOLD, the outlet that got the second letter today, they are a local station. They've been covering this a lot. And what I'm wondering is, they're sending it to a local station that is really involved in this. Is it somebody who's watching that local station? And if they're watching the local station, they're probably in some radius where that station broadcasts. So that red line that I drew on our board this morning, my guess is that circle's a lot smaller.
I think your instincts are probably right as usual. So we have a new message. We have investigators back at the house. We have no proof of life in the second message and no path to any ongoing communications for Savannah and her family with the people that likely have her mother. So it makes it that much tougher.
Yeah, it does make it tougher. But one of the reporters at KOLD, in describing the letter and describing it very cryptically, made it sound like there's something alarming in there. There was no ransom demand or anything like that, but there was something in there that was somewhat alarming. And I have no idea. It could have to do with Nancy's health. I don't know. But when we got our first letter, the first thing out of the box was she's okay but scared. So that was, days ago. So we don't know how she is now. Remember, she didn't have her medication when she was abducted nearly going on a week ago. So we don't know if the reference was to that. I will say, Sean, we got our letter, which is the same letter that KOLD has, the first one. We got it 12 hours after KOLD got its. So I don't know if we are going to end up getting this, but what I'm going to be looking for is if they are describing in any way the condition of Nancy Guthrie. Because if they're not making an additional ransom demand, other than the fact that the reporter said they are trying to prove they are the real deal, and it seems like these two letters are written by the same person, you would think they would have some reference in there to how Nancy is doing.
Well, let's go back to the original letter, Harvey, that you received, and the fact that it mentioned not just the one deadline of yesterday, but the second deadline that is Monday, I would assume 5 p.m. Tucson time, and that would be Monday. And with that you said it would be far more consequential, meaning it sounded somewhat dire, more threatening for her and her safety and her life. That has not changed from all we know about this new letter that came in today.
I can't tell you that. What the reporter said was the deadlines haven't changed. So this sounds more like, again, I don't know because I have not seen the second letter. But I think one of the things everybody is thinking about right now is how is Nancy doing? Assuming she's unharmed, how is she doing? She doesn't have her medication. There are definitely health issues. So I don't know if they have referenced that. But it seems to me that if they are trying to squeeze the family to hit the button on that Bitcoin link, that's one of the things that they would do. That would be a pressure point. Again, I don't know what it says, but from the way the reporter described it, it sounded like there was something somewhat alarming in it.
You know, I can certainly understand there's been now 2 pleas from the family, one from Savannah directly, one from her brother, for proof of life that you are who you say you are. And it seems consistent, this letter, if it's real, again, if all the letters are real, that it would be coming from the same person, although a different IP address. In this particular case, one has to imagine as we get closer to Monday at 5 p.m. Tucson time, you know, whether or not they just hit send on that Bitcoin letter. And I would not blame them, whatever decision they made. I'm sure they're in total agony over it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It is a really tough decision. They have not sent proof of life so far. You know, one of the things I want to see, the KOLD, when you send a letter to their tip line, it does not allow for an attachment. I believe that our tip line does. So I don't know if we end up getting that letter, whether there's going to be an attachment. I have no idea. But the family has been asking for proof of life. I don't know, again, what is in that letter. But based on what the reporter said, it is constructed in a very similar way to the way the first letter was. And I can tell you that first letter is written by someone who is articulate, who knows grammar, who knows structure. And it sounds like the 2 were written by the same person based on.
Okay, so let's just so that's kind of the idea there. So what I want to do is I want to dive into a couple of things. So they're talking about the letters being written by the same person. Listening to other FBI hostage negotiators talk about kidnapping, the words that they used are kidnap for ransom is a business. And I mean, we don't think about people getting kidnapped, but apparently it's a real thing. And while typically there's no honor among thieves, apparently there's a whole formula that kidnappers use when they're kidnapping people for money. And it's very clean. They go in, they get a person, they take the person, they keep the person, they feed the person, they don't beat the person. And they immediately ask for money with their conditions. They communicate, and once they get their money, they drop the victim off, and it's clean. It's bada boom, bada bing. And apparently, it's an entire business. And most people who have been commenting on how these ransom notes have been going are saying that this is unlike anything that they have seen in any kidnapping situation. So this makes me think that these are not professional kidnappers. And I'm sure everybody's probably already come to that conclusion. But what this does make me think is the person who has Nancy or took Nancy or interacted with Nancy, whatever the truth is, this person sent the first note to TMZ in LA, the second one to KOLD in Tucson, the Tucson news station, no one else. And what this tells me is that this person wants attention. I don't think that these notes are real. And I've also heard FBI agents also talk about the fact that they're not going to give 2 deadlines. There's probably going to be 1 deadline. Again, the kidnappers are going to reach out and communicate with law enforcement or the family. They want their money. This is just a money grab, and people are going to respond. if you're taking a family member and you've kidnapped a family member, the family's going to respond. If they have money, the kidnappers have already reconned, who they're taking the family member from. They know that there's money there. They're not going to hurt the hostage. Because that's the collateral. Okay. That is the collateral that they have, and they have to return the hostage unharmed in order to get their payday. So this whole idea of sending the notes to TMZ, which has nothing to do with the Tucson area, not communicating directly with the family, even though they have reached out and asked for the host or the kidnappers to communicate directly with them. They're open, they're ready to talk. They need proof of life. That has not happened. And we've already passed one deadline, and then the next one is Monday, which again is off script from what a typical kidnap for business has. Now, one of the things that is hopeful, per Harvey Levin, with him thinking that she could be within driving distance of a couple hours of Tucson, being close to the border, there are pharmacies on the border. If anyone has been to Mexico, there are pharmacies, you don't need a prescription. And so as long as Nancy, and this is hopeful, as long as Nancy is on medication that is carried in a Mexican pharmacy, and I even heard that there are some stores in Tucson that you can go, and they're probably a bit under the table, but it's not impossible. If Nancy came out and was still conscious, they didn't grab her medication. If she's conscious, they could have learned from her that she needs this medication, especially blood thinners and whatnot for her heart. If they could then go and get her medication from a Mexican pharmacy, that is good news. The first note mentioned that she's okay but scared, and that does make sense. That of course she would be probably terrified. I can't imagine opening my eyes in bed at 2 a.m. and seeing somebody in my room. I mean, that would make me pass out just right there immediately. And so this has been harrowing for this poor woman. But again, hopefully if she is within a couple hours of a drive from Tucson, that they could get her some medication from a Mexican pharmacy. And that is very hopeful. Now, I'm going to share, Trump has also mentioned on Air Force One, and this is, again, we're all just looking for hope. I mean, the family is being tortured right now. I'm sure they can't eat. I'm sure that they can't sleep. We're all looking for just any grains of hope, but Trump has been informed of what's going on. And let's watch what I think he's on this one. Let's watch and see what he has to say on Air Force One.
Promised Savannah Guthrie's family the full support of federal law enforcement. FBI is now.
I'll give you a little statement. I think we're doing very well on that regard. You're probably surprised to hear that. I think we're doing very well. Very well, meaning we have some clues, I think, that are very strong. And I think we could have some answers coming up fairly soon.
Is this a nationwide search? Is this a search going to Mexico?
I'm not talking about a search. I'm talking about a solution. We have some things I think that will maybe come out reasonably soon from DOJ or FBI or whoever that could be
A suspect?
yeah, could be definitive.
When do you expect us to hear?
A lot's taken place in the last couple of hours. A lot of things have happened with regard to that horrible situation in the last couple of hours.
Okay. So I want to talk about the latest updates of some of the things that have been going on and some of the things that have been reported. And yesterday on my live, I talked about Ashley Banfield and how Ashley Banfield has doubled down on her source from law enforcement who would be in the know, boots on the ground, mentioning that the son-in-law of Nancy Guthrie is the prime suspect, and she's not backing down from that. And I just kind of want to talk about that for just a moment. I have obviously clearly no idea. We don't know who, if they even have a prime suspect, but FBI came in first day, they pull cell phones. Okay. They get with cell phone tower providers, and it's very easy because they have the time frame of when the garage door opened and the pacemaker disconnecting from the iPhone watch or the Apple Watch. They know that 45 minutes, it'd be very, very easy for them to just see what cell phones pinged off those cell towers. They probably had a cell phone number within hours of them looking into this. So I believe that they have identified at least one or more persons that were in the area at that time. I'm not going to say that it's the son-in-law, because we've also heard reports that Savannah Guthrie is livid. And of course, we have no idea how true and accurate this is, but that Savannah Guthrie and her family is livid at Ashley Banfield coming out with these reports about Tommaso, the husband of Annie Guthrie, and linking him to this case. They did, I think on day 2 or 3, they did come in, they grabbed devices from Annie Guthrie's home. They took her car to forensics and have entered it into evidence, which I could see them doing that in order just to clear the family, because remember, they have to investigate the A tier, the A orbiters family. They have to clear them first thing. And so I could see that would be kind of benign, them taking that vehicle, knowing that that is the vehicle that she was dropped off after dinner. I don't think that that's really a red flag. But watching Ashley Banfield, and I've just been drawn to this entire, series, just getting any nugget that I can. Ashley Banfield says she's been in media for 38 years, and she stands by her source. She says that she's credible and she is not going to ruin her credibility for a story. But she also led off with this about how she really felt connected to this story because she has been like a personal friend of Savannah Guthrie for years. And I kind of have to feel like, from an emotional standpoint, if Ashley Banfield is my friend and I'm going through this heinous nightmare, why is Ashley Banfield inserting herself into the most horrific time of my life? I feel to get the scoop and to get clicks. So regardless of whether Ashley Banfield is right and the son-in-law, Tommaso, is the prime suspect, which we'll talk about, in my opinion, why he could be very well, regardless of that, why would Ashley Banfield? I think that's just really selfish. A, because if she's a friend, a personal friend of Savannah Guthrie, why would she do that? And B, Ashley Banfield is destroying this investigation. I don't want to say destroying. That's a little strong. She's hurting this investigation because the press conferences with the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff, they are very strategic in what information they're putting out. And a lot of this is really keeping the prime suspect feeling comfortable and safe. We're not on his trail. We're looking at these ransom notes and, shiny object over here. We certainly don't want our prime suspect to think that we are onto him and that we're continuing to investigate him. And Ashley Banfield just blaring this out. And I'm hearing that maybe the main news channels are not repeating it, because who knows if it's real or not. I just feel it's very irresponsible for Ashley Banfield to insert herself, more so than Levin, more so than him. People are feeling like Harry Levin is inserting himself for TMZ, but they actually got a note and they did turn it over to the FBI, and he is trying to give us information. I don't think that that is hurting the investigation as much as Ashley Banfield having someone leak sensitive information about a prime suspect, naming the prime suspect early in the investigation, having it be the brother-in-law of Savannah Guthrie, her friend. It's just not helpful. Okay. There's a time and a place for everything. And I really feel like, yeah, Ashley Banfield said that she does news. She doesn't apologize for this, that, I guess it's just cutthroat. I guess anything goes. If you're friends, you can go ahead and inject yourself into something. But I just feel like, if Savannah Guthrie is hurt by this, I don't blame her. I can't see that they would be close after this. And again, I think it's a low blow by Ashley Banfield, whether she's right or not, on 2 strikes. The loyalty and her, coming off at first saying that she was, heartbroken because Savannah is her friend. Why would you do that? Why would you do that and cause trouble? What if Tommaso was the suspect, was the perp, and he flees, and we never find out where Nancy Guthrie is? I mean, what if he had Nancy Guthrie in a storage unit somewhere, and she's alive, and he's afraid now that people are watching him, he doesn't go back and feed her? I mean, something bad could really. This is not a game. This is not about who has the first scoop. It's just really reckless. And I really feel like there's going to be some blowback. And I mean, even yesterday I was reporting that this is what she was saying. And I really had to take time and really absorb, what really this could mean, what domino effect this really could mean. And it's more troubling than I can imagine. So I don't think it's a great idea. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. Now, why do I think it could be Tommaso? Okay. Regardless of Ashley Banfield, it could be Tommaso, and I'll tell you why. Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, lives in a rural area. You have to know where you're driving to even find the location. This wasn't random. It was targeted. And again, ransom notes, keeping my thoughts going here, ransom notes loosely, they are well written. Harry Levin says that there's an introduction, a middle, and a conclusion. They're grammatically accurate. They make sense. They're well written. You can tell that there is education and intelligence behind this person. Tommaso is a school teacher. So somebody who is a teacher is well educated, probably has great grammar, and that's and I'm saying Harry Levin. I'm sorry, Harvey Levin. I knew I was getting that wrong. Harvey Levin from TMZ, and I'm a TMZ fan. So I could see if it is Tommaso, this is the scenario. If it is him, this is what I think could have happened. Tommaso, school teacher, doesn't make a lot of money. God bless teachers. God bless America. Annie Guthrie, I guess she's a poet. I don't know if she does other work on that, and I could be incorrect, but probably not a lot of money. If they're having financial issues, they are close with Nancy. They've been married for several years, but what if there was during dinner, what if there was an argument? Maybe, what if they're trying to borrow money? I did mention, or I did not mention, but ICAC, which is the, and I'm going to say this wrong. I think it's Internet Child Abuse. It's child abuse, Internet Child Abuse Department. They went into the house, and does that say that they might have found something? Again, this is all speculation. I don't want anyone to come for me. I'm just giving a scenario. What if Nancy found something out about Tommaso? What if Annie found something out to Tommaso and told Nancy? What if they argued during dinner? What if they asked Nancy for a loan? Nancy could have said no. Older ladies, when they get to be 84 and they hurt all the time, they can get kind of cranky. She might be tired of helping them out. The home that they live in, that area is expensive. Those homes are more expensive. They're on acreages. We just don't know. So if they dropped her off at dinner, continuing with my scenario, what if Tommaso went back to the house to take something, to find something? Could be jewelry, could be anything. Older people, older generations put cash in their mattresses. Not uncommon. Okay. I would guess, knowing my mother, who lived till 82 with me, died in the house at my home, wakes up all night long. You couldn't do, the TV was on, she's walking around, I hear the microwave going off. It's very possible with blood thinners that Nancy has to go pee in the nighttime. I think it's very likely that if Tommaso entered the home, Nancy could have been awake, comes in a room, a dark room, sees someone rummaging around. If he's taking something, if Nancy was scrappy, Nancy could have said, no, get the hell out of here. Give me that. She could have gone for him. He could have popped it right in the schnoz with her heart the way it is. And again, or if he's in her bedroom and she just sees him, that's enough to give me a heart attack. Okay. That's absolutely terrifying. I think it was just a robbery gone wrong in this scenario that I'm coming up with right now. And he probably had no intention of hurting her. And now what do you do? Getting her out of the house. We don't know where she is. Whatever he did with her in this scenario, I do think that if that is the case, I could easily see him writing these ransom notes to get the heat off of him, like a red herring, because they are well written. He is in a rock band. People who have psychopathies, sociopaths, they're a lot of times narcissists. They like attention. They want fame. They want people to know about them and hear about them. I could easily see someone of that caliber sending a letter to TMZ and the news station. The second one went through the news station's comment, like their comment page. So this is and they keep saying that this is a really smart, sophisticated person. But I mean, we don't know. If you use a VPN, does that hide your IP? The first letter was sent from somewhere. He could have gone to FedEx and used a computer. He could have gone to school and used a computer and the IP address with the VPN. You can log into a VPN and download it on any computer. And supposedly the IP was different on the second letter through KOLD. So I do think that it's very possible that Tommaso makes sense for him. And let's see, we have a comment. Hi, Being Nessing. Hi, Being Nessing. Thank you so much for your comments. I appreciate you being here today. Yes, his band member was arrested for really bad stuff. Well, I think that actually makes perfect sense, because I feel like in my gut, again, I am an empath. I can feel things. It just, and it's also logical. I think that there was a second person. Okay. We don't know if there's drug use with these people, rock bands, whatever. I think that there had to have been a second person, especially after, something goes awry. 150 pounds on an older lady, if she's passed out, it's dead weight, and I'm not trying to use that as a pun, but it really is. And it feels much heavier, and it would be very difficult to get her out if she was unconscious. But also, if she is a scrapper that caused this, she's probably scrapping all the way out the door. And it's going to take a bit, of gruff to get her out of the house. So I do think that there could be a second person. We've heard about the band member. That does make sense. And again, the narcissism, the wanting, I mean, you're not in a rock band because you don't want attention. Hello. You're in a rock band, you want attention. So I totally think that it would track for that personality to send a ransom letter to TMZ that doesn't make any sense, that is clearly not written by a professional kidnap for business person who does this for a living. The crypto, I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. I don't understand crypto, but I probably could learn enough about it in an hour on the interwebs to understand how I could actually have an account that would be untraceable and have somebody send me crypto. It can't be that difficult. People are doing it all the time. So I don't know, some people have made suggestions that this could be a younger, maybe someone overseas doing this. But why? Why would they go after Savannah Guthrie's 84-year-old mother? And if they are a professional organization and kidnapping for hire and, are following, I guess, the rules, the formula that kidnappers do, they're going to take care of Nancy. They're going to not harm her. They're not going to punch her. They're going to keep her healthy because that's how they get their pay. Okay. They're not going to hurt her. I do think that it makes sense that Tommaso in the inner circle is going to be the person. Now, a few things that have happened in the last 24 hours that makes me really think that that is possible is they keep going back to Annie's house. Okay. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Okay. Apparently they were all staying at Annie's house. Supposedly they're not at Annie's house. They probably took them out in the middle of the night in a darkened SUV, and they've probably put them in a safe house somewhere because the media was in the front yard. I would not feel comfortable with that. I also mentioned yesterday on my live, and I still have to kind of believe this, that it would make sense for the FBI to maybe confide a little bit in Savannah, but have Savannah maybe being in the mission a little bit. Savannah is embedded with her sister and her brother. If Annie has any consciousness of guilt, maybe knows something and hasn't shared something, we don't know. I mean, she could be completely innocent. Tommaso may not be the perp, but I'm still going along with that scenario. We're still in that scenario. Who is going to get Annie to talk if Annie has information? Savannah could get her to talk. Savannah could be embedded and listening. And, if Tommaso has done this and Annie's completely innocent, I mean, this is a double whammy on Annie. And this is, I mean, I can't even imagine how horrific this would be for your husband to be involved with something like this. But, if she knows anything, Savannah could pick something up. I'm sure that, blood is thicker than water. Her loyalty is going to be to her sister, her brother, her mother, probably not so much with Tommaso. And if there is anything to learn, Savannah is in a really good place being embedded around Annie to hear, to see. Who knows where Tommaso is? We have no idea where he is. I haven't heard it where he is. Nobody has interjected that, but they're not at Annie's house anymore. And then last night when they went back, after that second note dropped, and I do think that that was coincidental that the FBI happened to show up back at Nancy's house. They grabbed her, Nancy's SUV. Makes total sense that if they took Annie's car day 2, day 3 earlier this week, they've probably processed it. They do the luminol. They may not have seen anything. They could have come back and said, you know what, let's get Nancy's car. Let's see if that car was used. I mean, older lady, still able to drive. Keys probably are just left in the car. So it makes sense to me that they're probably now looking through that vehicle, which is fine. But I'm sure that they know who this is. I really do. And again, it makes sense that it could be Tommaso with the band and everything. And there's obviously there could be some background in that scenario. Is it a home health care worker? Is it a yard person? Is it the garbage man? again, why would somebody do this to an 84-year-old woman? There has to be a connection. And, Trump is saying that something's going to come out pretty soon. There's no press conference today. May not be one until Monday. We may not hear anything until they actually are ready to make an arrest. They could be working on a grand jury on Monday to get a quick indictment. They could be looking for other charges to bring the perp in, just to get them, put them on ice in the jail until they can get an indictment. It's not uncommon for them to bring somebody in on other charges. So, just a lot going on right now. And I think that anybody wants to have answers. We need to let the investigators do what the investigators are doing. I think that Ashley Banfield needs to just stop. Obviously I'm talking about the scenario, but Ashley Banfield is saying that her source says it is him. Okay. And I think that we all are following the arrows. We kind of see why he would fit in with this. But again, I think that Ashley, I'm just a tiny startup channel. She's got a lot of bandwidth. And I think it's really interjecting herself into this investigation could have blown the cover of the FBI or the county sheriff before they wanted anyone to go in that direction. I can't blame Savannah if Savannah is really pissed about Ashley doing. If they're friends, who needs a friend like Ashley Banfield? It may as well. It sounds like an enemy to me, and it sounds very selfish to try to get the scoop and come out with the scoop, regardless of if it hurts the investigation of her friend. If this is my friend, I want to do everything I can to help the investigation, not hinder. And I really do think that by Ashley, and I wouldn't really be going down this road. I wouldn't know who Tommaso's name is if it hadn't been for Ashley Banfield. So, I guess maybe, am I jumping on the bandwagon? I hope not. It makes sense that if that is his role in the life, it makes sense that he would be the person, but I certainly wouldn't have gone on a national stage and try to blow up the investigation of my friend, who is in the darkest period of her life and is in a living nightmare. The only thing worse than this situation is if it had been a child. Only thing worse would be if it had been a child. You expect your parents to go before you, but not in this traumatic way. And, again, since they're close to Mexico, could they have gotten medication from a Mexican pharmacy? The hope is that yes, they did get some medication or have medication if she's still alive. But if not, I think that, the likelihood of her having been red-rummed is very high. And either way, my hope is that the Guthrie family gets a resolution, whether it's good or bad. It's, and just watching people when they're interviewed, when a family member is missing, at this point, you just want to know what happened. And it's almost a relief to say, I know what happened. And I don't have to wonder if they're suffering. Just the trauma, they're going to need intensive counseling. I hope that they have been reaching out to crisis counselors during this time, because, if you've not lost someone in a very sudden and dramatic way, you get so upset that it's a physical pain in your body from your entire torso through your heart and your throat. It physically hurts. And I unfortunately lost somebody in a sudden and unexpected way about 3 years ago. And I was so upset. I wanted to throw up. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. And when I was awake, I was so physically upset. I literally wanted to throw up. And I could only imagine that they are up all night worrying, is she cold? Is she hungry? Is she hurt? Does she have water? Is she, where is she? And that is torture. And regardless of how this ends for them, I mean, people have to remember this is real life. And they're going to need severe, hefty counseling after this is over for a very long time. This kind of trauma, I mean, the first year is those feelings pared down a little bit every day. But I mean, the first birthday, the first Mother's Day, the first Christmas, the first New Year's, I mean, the first year is all of those feelings, the nausea, the heart pain, the fear, you lose trust in humanity. They could end up being extra vigilant themselves. She could be afraid to go to her car at night. You're not safe in your own home. You can't go to bed. Are all the windows locked? Are the curtains down? Do I have an alarm? What was that sound? I mean, these are things that really happens when, we watch stuff on TV and it doesn't feel real. But when your sanctity is breached like this and you lose every sense of safety, I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever had like their car broken into or their home broken into. I mean, you feel violated in so many ways. And to have your 84-year-old mother taken, no, this is going to take a really long time. Savannah probably won't be able to work for a very long time. I mean, these are going to be really broken people. I just hope that if Nancy is not alive, that they at least get her back and that they get answers. And, the not knowing has to be hell. And so I just, I feel so strongly about just the emotion you can see in Savannah's face when she was reading, that note the other night on that video. I mean, even when Annie was talking and doing her part, trying to humanize their mother, Nancy, to whatever maniac has her, sickos like that have sociopaths and psychopaths, they look at people as tools. They look at them as objects to get what they want. And it's a very, very selfish thing. They don't look at them as humans. And so when you hear Annie and Savannah reading through that letter, they're using mama, mommy, we love her. The children cover her in kisses. They're having to humanize their mother to this person. And just when Annie was reading her part, you could just see Savannah's face just crumple. It's like she can't even control her physiological reaction to just hearing those words. She's probably in that moment saying to herself, how is this even real? How is this even real right now? And am I in a dream? Is this a nightmare I'm in? Is this a dream? And the feelings, it just has to be the worst thing ever. And so, we're all just praying for these people. And I'm praying that whoever has done this does the right thing. And, or I'm hoping that somebody nearby does the right thing and calls it in. I know that the FBI has offered $50,000 reward, but I don't know. I was thinking about doing a poll. I probably will do that tomorrow, but I just can't imagine telling the family to pay the ransom on Monday without proof of life. And that sounds horrible. And they might second guess themselves and go, why didn't we do this? But honestly, you cannot you can, again, there's rules when you're kidnapping people that you have to show proof of life. That's part of the formula of this sick, whatever this is. And if they can't give them, or they don't communicate directly with the family, they can't pay that ransom. And I think that I can't remember who it was, but mentioned that they would be better off upping that ransom to something like $500,000, because somebody knows something somewhere. And if it is a friend or a band member or something like that that's involved in this, I'm probably going to rat them out for 500 grand. And that's probably the best way that they could spend their money, is increasing that ransom, or I'm sorry, not ransom, the reward for somebody to call in information. That's enough money to make somebody rat. And just crossing their fingers that somebody does, and getting the information, again, getting that finality, that resolution that needs to happen. But we'll see. Obviously, Trump is up on it, and he's been getting reports, which is wonderful. And I'm, regardless of your political view, I'm glad that we heard from him, that he knows what's going on, and that he's indicating that resolution could be coming sooner, reasonably soon, is what he said. So, all right. Well, I want to thank everybody. I am going to be at CrimeCon. I am getting my channel started, and I want to meet everybody when we go out. Please subscribe. Please like this video. It's going to help get my algorithm started. Again, my angle is really just trying to come in from an empath's lens and really look at the emotions that are behind what's really going on, and try to look at things from a different angle than perhaps what everybody else is, and just kind of peel that onion back a little bit. So I don't know if anybody is going to CrimeCon. It's going to be in Vegas this year. I'm very excited. This will be my first one. But again, I will be going out there, and I'm hoping to get my channel going so I get to meet some people and get some regulars. I would love to meet everybody in person. So thank you so much. I will be going live again tomorrow with any updates, or if anything sooner happens, I'll be going live at that time. So thank you so much, you guys, and we will talk to you soon.